What could be more joyful than to speak about the truth of reality, the truth of who we are, the glorious light and love that we are, to join together in the frequency of love, join together in this field of light and remembrance. What could be more joyful? What could be more of an exuberant celebration? Mm. Mm. And so right here, in this moment, in the presence of now, you are the holy, the wholeness, the love, the beauty. The presence of the moment is the presence of being. It is the presence that you are. And the knowing of this resides here. The knowing of this cannot reside in time. It can only reside here now. It does reside here now always. It never leaves itself. The truth never, ever leaves itself. The truth never becomes untrue. Wholeness never becomes divided, separated, or unwhole, unholy, right? Reality is never anything but real, absolutely real, and grounded, rooted in its own reality. It's transparent, it's honest. There's nothing to hide and nowhere to hide and no one to hide here. And every heart is longing for this, let's say this level, this frequency, this vibration of reality, to see and be seen, to love and to be loved, to know ourselves as love, to be fully revealed as the glorious light, the fullness of what we are. It's almost as if we're wanting so deeply to be the vibrant expression of this truth, because the heart knows this. And yet somehow it feels that as we move, it goes through filters and then its expression somehow seems disappointing or lacking. Why am I not showing the fullness of myself? Why am I not able to express myself? Why can I not show the fullness of my heart right on the surface of life in jubilant celebration? Every heart is longing for this because every heart knows as the one heart, the true essence nature, to be this joy, this love, this beauty, untainted, undimmed. And in the presence of now, the reality is remembered. And yet we're so habituated to be self-critical, judgmental, essentially first self-judgmental, self-hating, self-critical. Yes, we project that outwards as well as a way of kind of tempering the enormity of how critical we could be of our own self and our own behavior. Essentially, such a huge recognition in this opening to freedom and to being the living expression of the vibrant heart is about realizing how we're so conditioned to make ourselves wrong, to make wrong, to be constantly in an inner dialogue, which is all about what's wrong, like a constant inner no to life. No, you're wrong. Why did you say that? Why did you do that? That one did this. This is wrong. This isn't working. I want something different. It's like we're living, or let's say, if we are living at a frequency of no, of a frequency of something's wrong with me, something's wrong with life, something's wrong with my family, something's wrong with my relationship, something's wrong with my job. something's wrong with just the way things are in the world. It's like all of that is reflecting and bringing us to realize that when we live at this frequency, that in a way we're perpetuating that frequency. Now, the glory of this unfolding is that it is a unique and wild exploration of your own heart, to discover that your heart is not personal, that your heart is one unified field of light, a unified field of love. And so what's so important in this unfolding is that we allow ourselves to be in the opening to what is true without making ourselves wrong, without constantly making, let's say, our spiritual unfolding wrong, without actually following any pointings, wherever they come from, whether they come from here or from other beings and guides or books and texts and scriptures, lineages, whatever they come from. What's so important is that we're not receiving at the frequency of making ourselves wrong. And let's say more clearly, what that brings is a sense of, I've got to do this right. It brings a sense of, am I getting it? Am I doing it right? Am I being validated? Are you seeing me? Am I where I should be? Right? Tune into this, because this is so important. Because if we're receiving pointings from that frequency of there's something wrong with me, we will constantly we will constantly be aspiring to try to get it right. And if we're trying to get it right, that is born out of the frequency of believing that there's something wrong. And there can never be autonomy in that frequency. That frequency is not a frequency where we can be living in the autonomy of our deepest, truest knowing, which is essentially what brings us to freedom, is that our lived experience is without doubt and questioning and without the need for validation externally. It's an inner knowing that is self-validated, let's say, in the frequency of love. Love loving itself, self-validates itself as an absolute unquestionable knowing. Now, if we're receiving pointings, teachings, sharings at that frequency of fear, of am I getting it right? We will almost not allow ourselves to go into the depthful exploration of the landscape of our own consciousness freely, like an intrepid explorer. And what this unfolding takes is to be an intrepid explorer of your inner landscape, of your heart. And in a way, the whole unfolding is about a returning to the naturalness of what we already know ourselves to be, returning to the deep, natural, intuitive knowing of the heart, of who I am as love, who I am as freedom, as light, who I am as beauty. I know who I am in the frequency of love without question. I know who I am. I know this is who I am. And every being has had the direct experience of this quality of remembrance, where it's not about, I know who I am, confident in my job role. I know who I am, confident in myself, with full of self-esteem and, prowess and goodness knows whatever other things that the character can fill itself full of, pump itself up like a balloon, right? It's not about that. It's about knowing yourself as love. It brings you to a depth of freedom where you're not poised in life constantly being waiting to be found out, waiting to be tapped on the shoulder and told that you've done something wrong, that there's something wrong with you, that you live without the fear of being discovered as being flawed, right? That you take your seat fully in the knowing of the truth of who you are. And what you can be sure of is that if there's a concern that the ego could take over, you don't need to be concerned, because there is a flow of grace that will trip up the ego again and again. Life itself is the leveler. Life itself is the balancer. Grace itself is the flow that will trip us in order for us to see more clearly. So in a way, we don't need to hold a stance of fear of like, I don't want to move into ego. It's, in a way, ego is the protection that says, I'm not worthy of being the radiant light. I'm not worthy of being one with God. But it's not a true humility, it's a protection. We could say that true humility is actually the vibrant, unquestionable knowing of yourself as being one with the divine, and the absolute, unguarded, radiant shining and joyful expression of your true heart, without any fear or concern that anything bad could happen to you, that you could do anything wrong, that you're going to be found out as being some kind of fraud, right? Whatever it is, and all of the ways that we move. And what we're really pointing to is how important it is to receive every pointing at the level of frequency, and then open to an exploration where you confirm within your direct experience what is true for you. And yes, we talk about these things, we share the direct experience, and there is a sense of confirming, but the confirming isn't like a giving a gold star and a ticking and saying, yes, you're right. It's about a meeting in the frequency, and the meeting in the frequency confirms itself as a way that love loves itself, that just joins in like a joyful, wow, yeah, how extraordinary, how beautiful. What a celebration. It's like a natural mirroring. It's the true mirroring. It's the true reflection. And it's not confirming, like, yes, you're getting it right. You're doing good. It's a mirroring that joins in the frequency of celebration, of seeing, of the heart. And the confirmation is in your own heart, in the meeting, in recognizing that there's a meeting, that there's a reflection. If the reflection in life, whether it's here in our gathering or anywhere in life, if your reflection brings a sense of stirring or doubt or questioning or self-judgment, then that is exactly the perfect reflection to reveal that you're moving in a way that's looking for something outside, and that it's reflecting the places that are in doubt and self-judgment and questioning, right? So many mention that after an interaction there can be this inner conversation that doubts and questions and brings judgment. And there's a perfection in that, but that's not because you're not being confirmed in the meeting of love. It's because the mind is telling itself, I'm wrong, I didn't say the right thing, I should have said this, I should have done that. And then that is the opportunity to illuminate that habit, that conditioned habit to posture, to make wrong, to not trust the natural flow, that there's only one thing happening, and it's love. And whatever happens, however life flows, it's always a flow of grace. It's either reflecting the frequency of love and celebration, or it's reflecting a blind spot and a frequency of fear, not to make wrong, not to give the sense that there's something wrong with me, or I'm bad, or I'm failing, but as an opportunity to illuminate that and to see that. Because the whole of this unfolding is about the inner exploration, the courageous inner exploration, the inner exploration to meet yourself again and again, and to know yourself again and again as the love that you are, to feel the frequency of love and openness, where the knowing knows, where there's an unquestionable knowing, like right now, in this moment, in the wide open presence, in the fine frequency of presence. There is a sense of just being here. Underneath, we could say, or before the mind and the thoughts, before the body and the feelings and sensations, there is a simple sense of presence that just is. And it has a vibrational quality, a frequency, a resonance, where the knowing of the heart knows itself, remembers itself, feels a certain stillness and silence, feels its own presence, just simply being here. And in this feels open and natural and relaxed. There is a naturalness here, a natural beauty here. And in that naturalness, a sense of the simplicity of being, which is not about an achievement or an experience. It's a deep relaxation into yourself, into the presence of your true self, into the naturalness and openness. Underneath any thought that there could be anything wrong or anything right, there's a simplicity that just is, here now. The simple presence, I am, I am, I am, just simply being here, just as you are. And in a way, the mind can jump to say, well, yes, I recognize it now, but what about when I don't listen? Just see it. Be aware of the mind that is concerned about the how-tos and the what-ifs and the buts. Just see that tendency to jump into time and try to work out, well, how can I take this into time? In truth, you can't, but you don't need to. You don't need to know how to, because there's an intelligence that knows, that is the actual divine wisdom of life. And the divine wisdom of life knows, and so you don't have to. It's about not knowing how to and being comfortable with that. It's about a surrender and a letting go into the wisdom flow of life, an ability to be so present here that there's the natural aware ability to just watch and see, wow, life is just happening. The body is just moving. Thoughts are just coming. Life is just flowing. It's all happening absolutely independent of the thought, of the belief, I am the one doing. It's all happening absolutely independently of the belief, I am the doer. So because of that, we cannot do the undoing of the doer. We can just recognize that there is already something here that has never been done up as the doer, that there is nothing to undo. It's about dropping deeper than that landscape, that denser frequency landscape of the fear, of the doer, of the need to, the haves, the shoulds, the musts, the what ifs, the buts, all of that. It's about dropping deeper to the what is and just simply being here. And in the recognition, there's a frequency shift that starts to root itself in a remembrance and a knowing where the heart is alive, it's on fire, it's wildly excited because it knows itself here. It recognizes itself here. And it recognizes itself at a level, at a frequency level of not doing anything and not needing to get it right, not fearing that I could get it wrong. It recognizes itself at a frequency level of relaxation, of openness, and that openness is love. It recognizes itself at a frequency level of absolute allowing and acceptance. It recognizes itself at a level of almost like a sense of the most incredible embrace and holding that says, you are safe, you are safe, you are loved, you are loved, you are held, you are home, you are whole. And it's like a deep, deep relaxation of the nervous system that shifts the frequency from, we could say in simple terms, from fear to love, from separation to the unlimited, undivided wholeness of the wide open field. There's a deep frequency that's singing the song of silence that says this is who you are. This is who you are as your whole self. This is your home that you have never left. This is the love that you are. This is the beauty that you are. This is the untouched freedom that you are. This is the still, silent presence that you are. And this is the wide open field where you are one with all that is. This is your belonging. And what you belong to is not a tribe, not a community, not a group. You belong to God. You belong to love. You belong to yourself. And when you belong to yourself, you feel the freedom to be yourself, to be the wild, unique, flowerful expression, and to share your fragrance and your song and your dance right on the surface of life in jubilant, joyful, ecstatic celebration, to be yourself, vibrantly free. Ah, there's a beautiful releasing happening in the field. Can feel it here as a tenderness and like the upwelling of divine tears, as the relaxation of, oh, you mean I'm already free? You mean I can be myself? You mean I can show the wideness and luminosity of my heart to the world? Yeah, please do. What the world needs is more light, more love, more shining, radiant knowing of what is true in order to shift the frequency of the collective consciousness from a collective fear and division and limitation to a collective wide open, vast, infinite, unbounded field of brilliance, of love, and remembrance of the true nature. And in a way, the living of life, we could say the purpose of our human life, is to discover this truth, to open to it, to discover it, to live it, and to have the vibrant courage to bring that wellspring of your discovery without doubt and questioning, and without the filters of could I be right, could I be wrong, to bring it without question right to the surface of life as a vibrant expression of light, of love, to shine your light, to sing your song, dance your dance, shine the radiant colors of your unique expression while being absolutely rooted in the one essence, substance, in the principle, so that your song is the song of the divine, that your dance is choreographed by the divine frequency of love, of radiant, radiant light, and that you're not a person, a character. You're not in it for me. You're not in it for what can I get out of this? How will I be seen? How will I be received? That you're in it for love. You're in it for God. You're in it for the absolute radiant glory to shine and to be the living glorification of the glory itself, to be the living expression of love itself for the sake of love alone. If there's a fiber of our being that's in this unfolding for the me, it will be tripped up, it will be caught, it will be illuminated at some point, because true humility is not about the me being seen, getting it right, being validated. It's about knowing that beyond right and wrong, there is this wide open field of light that is radiantly shining in total equanimity and equality and harmony and balance, where there is only one and no one is out for themselves. So the power is one power. There's no imbalance of power. There's no imposition upon anyone and no feeling downtrodden. There's a recognition that your knowing is power. Your knowing of who you are, the freedom of who you are, is power. It's the true power to be yourself, that you don't belong to anything or anyone, that kind of idea will always be born out of a deep-rooted frequency of fear and lack. We're so ready to give power away because we're so afraid of actually being the full power frequency of light and love that we are. We're actually so afraid to see what is really here, who we really are, to actually look in the mirror of the divine, to gaze into the divine light and see the light shining back that confirms the glory and the truth of who you are. That you are one with what God is, that you are one with divinity in its absolute purity. And your heart knows this. Your heart knows this. Let's live it. Let's live this. Let's be this. Let's shine as this. Let's be the light that shines on the surface of life, that shares this luminous frequency as widely as possible. Let's sing and dance and resonate at this frequency. Let's love and share the glory in celebration with as many beings as are ready to receive. Let's be the army of love, rooted in the frequency of freedom and light and openness. Let's be the bringers of peace, true peace, through our frequency and our unbridled joy and unfurrowed brows, right? Let us shine the truth of who we are, the radiance and the brilliance of the wide open heart. Let's stop making it so hard. Let's stop living at that frequency where we're looking to get it right and to go beyond that into the vast open realms of our own knowing and join in the power and the fine frequencies of light and love and peace and harmony. Where there's no hierarchy, that there's one glory. And that where the heart knows this, we look upon a life and we illuminate. Where is this life not free? Where is this life not yet illumined? And can I be the light that is willing and courageous to not project, but to meet every thread, fiber, area, blockage, pattern and dynamic that is playing in this life? And can I, without making any of it wrong, illuminate it and love it into wholeness? Can I love myself, all that I am, every fiber of what I am? Can I love myself into wholeness through being with myself, being open to see the areas that feel sticky or hard or resistant or struggling? And can I be present with these areas and be the light, be the radiant shining light that illuminates these areas that are in some kind of holding? In a way, what gets called the spiritual journey is really a journey into your own heart. It's not a journey that can be validated on the outside. It gets validated through your direct experience of your own opening to yourself. How much love there is flowering in your heart for yourself. How much compassion there is in your heart for yourself. How we stop the constant criticism and judgment of our own self, that inner constant narrative and dialogue of what is wrong with me in my life. And we start celebrating the glory of what is shining radiantly in the knowing. So it's not about shifting to an affirmation of what is right about me, because what is right about me is kind of the same as what is wrong about me in a certain way, right? That frequency. So it's not about affirmation of I'm so great and I've got this going on and these are my gifts and I'm going to share them and I'm going to be validated and seen in the world. It's about living deeper than that. It's about living in the place, the wide open field where there is no right and wrong, where there's just this. It's the ultimate acceptance and allowance. It's the true frequency of what love is. It's the all-inclusive, all-encompassing frequency of the one. And we call it love. And we've learned a conceptual idea of what love is, but it's not actually what true love is. So what true love is, in a way, the word love can almost want to diminish the truth of what love is. Love is the absolute freedom. The glory is God, is divinity pure. and simple. It is the ultimate truth. There's nothing higher, nothing lower, nothing bigger, nothing smaller. It's an all-inclusive, all-encompassing wholeness. The undiminished, untainted, unfathomable glory of what we are. And in a way, this glory says, what right do you have not to shine? What right do you have to not live the wholeness of your heart? It is the birthright on a certain level. And by that, what we mean is that it is the purpose of a human life is to not be diminished and fearful in some kind of misguided idea of being divided and a sinner and a bad being. That the purpose of the human life is to see through the whole landscape of corruption and delusion, to see the distortions of the mind's projected world, which is the collective mind's projected world, and how we're entangled into that. It's to have the courage to untangle ourselves from the collective and live this truth. And there has to be an autonomous knowing. There has to be an autonomous recognition. And that autonomous recognition is about coming to recognize Satguru, right? So even if we are in an unfolding where we're drawn to the frequency of Guru, what the Guru frequency wants is for each being to not be an eternal disciple, but for each being to recognize the Satguru, the frequency of Guru, like the greatest, let's say in simple language and terms, the greatest longing of a being that embodies the frequency of Guru is for every being to see through the whole illusion of discipleship and actually embody the light frequency of Satguru and to disappear as a disciple into the eternal truth and glory of the light, to meet. And if there's a knowing, if there's a form of a guru that feels like a graced companion in the life, it's the possibility, the glorious possibility of meeting in the divine gaze that guru, either in form or in the light of the field, of meeting in absolute oneness and disappearing into the knowing so completely, right? Any being that is carrying and seemingly embodying the frequency of Guru that is in complete integrity, let's say, because there's many beings that are dancing a dance of corruption, but there are many beautiful beings that embody that light and are moving as an embodiment of that light, and the glory is for, in a way, for all disciples to spontaneously combust out of personhood and into the light and the knowing, and to meet in the absolute oneness, and that there's nothing elevated or egotistical about that. The greatest realization that we can come to is to realize I am nothing, not as I am nothing as I am unworthy of God, but I am nothing apart from God. I do not exist apart from God. I do not exist as an individual, and therefore I cannot even exist as a disciple. I cannot even exist as a person, even as the greatest disciple. I cannot exist because there has to still be someone present. What the light is inviting is the absolute dissolution into the light and the most glorious knowing. That is the celebration that the light is inviting. That is the great glorious celebration. And it doesn't diminish any being. Only the mind could imagine that could diminish anything. The greatest glory is to live this truth with an autonomous knowing, because without the autonomous knowing, there has to still be someone in existence and in division, right? So this is what the process of life is offering us, is to see the absolute oneness, to gaze into the eye of all beings, and to feel the absolute unquestionable joining in the frequency field of love, in the whole truth and the glorious divinity that is one. There's no higher or lower or better. We are one in a field of the absolute glory. And the celebration of a human life is to dissolve into that and to never stop dissolving, never ever become the one that has got it, to be a constant dissolution, a constant luminosity, a constant flow of life, just living itself, where there's no one that knows, no one that lands, just a river of harmonious flow, flowing in and as this ocean of bliss, and drinking its own nectar, being nourished in this absolutely self-sufficient nectarine bliss that's drinking itself, drinking itself, drinking itself, bathing in itself, and celebrating the glory of the ways and the means that life guides us and offers us guidance at every turn, in a way that offers us the grace of Guru, offers us the grace of guidance and companionship, that offers us the grace that can keep reflecting us to us the light of our own divinity, and bringing this constant, in a way, frequency of permission to truly shine, to truly shine, and to recognize that life itself is the Guru grace. Life itself holds that frequency, and that as we receive everything as that frequency of Guru grace, we're humbled in every moment, again and again. And we realize that we are humbled in surrender, and we are humbled in celebration. That in a way, celebration itself is the surrender. To surrender into celebration is the glory of this life. To surrender into a celebration that there is only one, and that we have this capacity in every moment to see that one shining back, and be humbled again, and be humbled again, and be humbled again, and be humbled again, right? Even the most extraordinary, characterful expression of Guru will be living that surrendered celebration into love in every moment. It's what can allow a form to embody and share and express, right? as soon as there's a holding of it, it will stagnate. It's the living surrender, being, life itself, the divine itself, the divine wholeness itself is a living surrender into itself. That's what integrity in a way is. That's what impeccability is. And in our human experience, we're being invited to explore what is integrity, what is impeccability, what is it to be humbled in every moment, what is it to feel every feeling and to know that this is the grace and glory of being humbled. What is it to receive all of life and to never know and to never arrive, but to keep recognizing more love, more love, more love, more glorious light, and to keep exploring, to keep bowing, bowing, and keep receiving. In a way, this could be the purest possibility of the frequency of the subtlest frequency of disciple is that guru and disciple, it's where guru and disciple are one, right? Is that guru light itself is in discipleship to itself, is bowing into itself, right? That if the embodiment never leaves its discipleship, we could say, if that flow of surrender never stops flowing, never stops flowing and being humbled into itself, never stops being in pure devotion to itself, never stops surrendering to itself. That's the integral wholeness. That's the light, self-sustaining itself, illuminating itself, and in the moment of illumination, bowing at its own glorious feet and dissolving into itself. And that dissolution is the power of realization that brings the illumination. And that illumination bows into itself, collapses into itself, surrenders its realization, and bows at the feet of its own graced, illuminated knowing of itself. And in that absolute collapse, it realizes again the glory of its wholeness. And then it collapses at its feet in pure devotion and absolute surrender into itself. And like it says, take me, take me. And it doesn't know what it's bowing at. And then it realizes, oh, I am that. I'm bowing to my very own self. And there's the realization and the illumination. And in that realization, bowing again to itself. And the integral wholeness remains integral because it never leaves itself. It never stops collapsing into itself. It never stops being absolutely devoured by its own brilliance. But it never holds a position of someone or something. It never stagnates. It never holds. So where we get to experience the living embodiment of Guru grace, we're just experiencing a frequency of living wholeness. We're getting to experience a living frequency of that ocean of bliss. In a way, being a flowing river of devotion into itself, recognizing itself as the ocean of bliss, nourishing itself, drinking of itself, celebrating the peace and beauty of itself, and yet somehow then flowing as a river of grace into itself, recognizing itself as a river in this pure devotion and flow into itself, and then drinking of the ocean of bliss, the beauty, the nourishment, the radiance of itself, and flowing again, never stopping, flowing into itself. And in that flow of devotion, the willingness to be humbled by anything and everything that could be a thread or a hook or a trip or a subtlety, to be constantly willing to flow and take in a way, we could even say the suffering of the world, to take in, to be so wide open as love that the whole world can be taken in to that flow, that river of flow. And we feel and we meet and we transmute and we flow as the river in absolute devotion. And then we explode in ecstatic celebration. And it's all happening simultaneously. And this is the life divine. This is the life divine, living itself. This is the glory, living itself. It's glorious, glorious truth of itself. So just in this moment, feeling the glorious celebration of your own hearts, knowing, feeling the flow of the field in absolute perfect harmony. You see, the field in perfect harmony is where the lover and the beloved are one, the devotee and the devotion and that which the devotee is devoted to is a one flow of extraordinary grace. This is where bhakti is shakti, right? But the bhakti flow is the flow of shakti. It's the shakti flow of life. It's the divine mother flowing into herself, into herself, into herself, and allowing her musings, her heartbeat, her breath to become a living appearance of creation. That her heartbeat, her devotion to herself, her living flow into herself becomes the beat of every heart, the breath that's animating every form, the living flow of devotion through every heart, the life force and power that gives the sense of my life. My life is yours. This heart is yours. All there is you, right? So in this recognition, this flow of bhakti, this flow of devotion, we enter the flow of the river and we're carried in that frequency of love and knowing. We're carried into the ocean of bliss and the remembrance, the recognition of the absolute oneness, the field of light, the field of absolute oneness. In the silence, in the stillness, we meet Shiva, we meet the Shiva aspect of ourself. We meet the perfection of pure awareness, that which is the seer, that sees the flow of life, watches but never leaves itself, right? And again, this, of course, is part of the absolute integral wholeness. The integral wholeness is that which never leaves, the constant, the pure, the unmoving. But the unmoving and that moving flow together as one is the union, the remembrance of the unified field that is then the one integral wholeness. and that our life is a reflection of the balancing, in a way, of the sense of the Shiva aspect and the Shakti aspect, opening to the pure awareness, the unmoving, unchanging, constant knowing of the pure, perfect presence of awareness, the deep-rooted silence, the stillness, the unchanging, and recognizing that the flow of life is the flow of grace that allows everything to flow and be, in a way, gathered into the river and carried in the river, the Bhakti river flow, the Shakti river flow is carried into the heart of wholeness. And in a way, meeting in the light, the principle of illumination illumines what is flowing, what is being felt, what is sensation, what is alive. And in that moment of recognition, the dissolution of division brings the remembrance of the unified field, the one, where Shiva and Shakti are one, integral whole. And that recognition of only myself, that Shiva doesn't see Shakti as separate, Shakti doesn't see Shiva as separate, because there's no personhood, there's no division. There's one, and one alone. And the sense of existence is the sense of the divinity, the divine whole, where there is no existence that is divided from the whole. There's nothing that exists as separate or divided from the whole. We're in the all-encompassing frequency of the one. And that one is love. And that one is freedom. And that one is the unfathomable silence. That one is the integral that never leaves itself. The integral whole never leaves itself. And yet it flows into seeming multiplicity, but never leaves itself, never divides. It's all appearance. It's the breath of life. It's the beat of the heart of life. But it's all one integral whole, always radiantly shining. And so you see the life divine is a reflection of this frequency. The living reality is the living of this frequency. Being the flow of life that gathers the seeming discordance and gathers the seeming discordance and illuminates the truth about discordance, illuminates that the discordance is not divided, is not separate, is not bad or wrong, and is also not right. It is perfect, perfect. And in that frequency, it starts to realize and remember, and all of life starts to open and flower in the radiance of the illumined heart. All of life starts to open and remember and dissolve in that flow of one whole, in absolute pure devotion to itself, in unerring, unending surrender to itself. And the heart knows this truth. The heart is the living of this truth. And so it is this possibility in this moment, in the presence of now, in the presence of being, of recognizing that the heart knows this, the heart remembers this. Not to worry about how to integrate it or what to do or how to live this, because this knows, this is intelligence. You are the intelligence, and this knows. It's just to be this and to allow this frequency of remembrance to reverberate through every cell and fiber and thread of your being in the whole multidimensional field. And just to be in this moment, the living yes, the living yes, yes, this. Nothing is being asked of us. We're not being asked to get anywhere, achieve anything, or prove ourselves as anything. We're being asked just to relax in such a depthful way into the presence of being that we see what is already here, that we stop looking, and we, instead of grasping outwards through sense perception, looking, trying to find, that we stop and we receive the divine vision, the clear vision of what is actually here, of what we truly are, right? See yourself in the mirror of now. See yourself in the presence of being yourself. The being itself sees itself in the subtle frequency of knowing, in the remembrance, right here now. This the glory, the one glory.